All right. Well, I lost my connection, so start again. Start all over again. No, we'll start from wherever we left off at 3 something. So let me pause for a second. Okay, back again. So 325. Yeah, that's a bit of a tricky question. Tricky question, but draw it out. All the following describe the shape of the sound wave created by a tiny fragment of PZT. A tiny fragment, when the source of sound is small compared to the wavelength, it travels out in all directions. And really, V-shaped, yeah. One could argue that the sound is going to be even more spread like that. But that's still somewhat of a V shape. Spherical, yeah, that's it's really going out in more of a sphere. If we had this tiny little piece of PZT right there and just firing off, really, you could say it's going off in that direction. Huygens wavelet, I actually don't like that because Huygens says wavelets are rather specific. And I don't agree with that. But hourglass shaped, hell no, no way possible. You cannot create an hourglass shaped sound beam with a single piece of tiny piezoelectric. Like I said, though, that's kind of a tough question. Hopefully you won't find that complexity on or that level of not only complexity, but of imprecise use of words and meanings on the test. That would be a bummer. Anyway, 326, which of the following explains the difference in sound beam shape created by a disc-shaped crystal from that of a small chip of PZT. I'm sorry, like I said, I was on the plane writing this out. Which of the following explains the difference in sound beam shape created by a disc-shaped crystal from that of a small chip of PZT? Huygens principle, Snell's law, Bernoulli's law, or Murphy's law? Probably not so much Murphy's law, considering that is more of a joke than anything. Murphy's law. So Bernoulli's law, well, we know that has to do with blood flowing through veins or arteries, right? So not Bernoulli's. Snell's law, I don't spend a lot of time on Snell's law because it's really just redundant, but it has to do with refraction of sound. So we're back down to Huygens principle. Which of the following explains the difference in sound beam shape created by a disc-shaped crystal from that of a small chip of PZT? In other words, this versus that. Well, this Huygens principle says that a larger source of sound will act as if there's many sources of sound. A larger diameter or a larger aperture will act as if there's many sources of sound. And so then these guys come out, and lo and behold, a beam of sound is created. Whereas the PZT chip does not act that way. It acts as a single source of sound. And that just simply spreads out. So let's see, Huygens principle is the only one that would make sense. A little bit of a complicated question, or way they ask the question anyway. Let's see, I am recording, I am sharing. Let's double check my share. I want to make sure that you guys are looking at what I'm looking at. You are, okay. The focus of an ultrasound beam is location where the beam is broadest. No, does the focus and broadest sound like the same thing? Optimum transverse resolution. Let's hold on to that one. It doesn't sound right, but let's hold on to it. Frequency is highest. Frequency, there's one operating frequency, right? Doesn't change at the focus. Finest depth resolution. What's another way of saying depth resolution? That doesn't change. That's the same as saying axial, right? Finest axial resolution is obtained at the focus. No, that's not the way it goes. So it's actually not D. It is B. Optimum transverse resolution, where the optimum transverse resolution is. Gotta be 320, gotta be 320, it's gotta be B. Because that's just a really weird way of saying this. Optimum is best, okay, so. And we know resolution, and we know transverse generally means, but we usually say lateral, but let's see, lata, okay, that makes sense. All right. Two pulses. One pulse is 0.4 microseconds. This is a abbreviated. I didn't want to write the whole thing down, but we can figure out basically the question's asking. Two pulses are sent into tissue. Pulse number one is 0.4 microseconds. Pulse number two, I'm assuming that's at 0.2 microseconds, which will produce the better lateral resolution. Well, I don't have my answers in front of me, but I'm going to have to say neither. This has given me an idea of axial resolution, but I'm certainly not getting anything on lateral resolution. Yeah, so I'm assuming it's A, B, or C is neither. Can't remember how that works, but must be that way. Okay. 333, true or false. When using standard ultrasound imaging instrumentation, okay. Standard ultrasound imaging instrumentation. In other words, fluff, 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 fluff. He's being specific, but he's kind of being overly specific. So it's a lot of fluff in there. In other words, you don't need to concentrate on that part of the question. The lateral resolution has a higher numerical value than the axial resolution. Right. So this one is tricky. This one is tricky. Lateral resolution has a so standard ultrasound, in other words, in general, the lateral resolution has a higher numerical value than that of axial resolution. It's not saying lateral resolution is higher resolution or better resolution. It's saying a higher numerical value. In other words, lateral resolution might be 3 millimeters and axial resolution is 2 millimeters. Axial resolution is better, but the higher numerical value is there. That's actually true. Very confusing way of saying it. You gotta really, this is an important one to really look at. I was excited when I found that. I was like, oh yes. Let's see, 338. Last one, last question. What will lower the value of an ultrasound system's lateral resolution? What will lower the value of an ultrasound system's lateral resolution? Decrease the number of cycles in a pulse? No. Why do we know that's not true? That's axial. Increase the effective damping material. In other words, do a better job of damping? No, that's axial. Increase the pulse repetition period? No, because that is depth and PRF and PRP, but that has nothing to do, and maybe frame rate and temporal resolution, but not lateral resolution. Use an acoustic lens. It's the only one left. Use an acoustic lens. Well, we don't, our equipment that we have in the lab, we don't have lenses, but let's see, draw my body. Here's my PZT without a lens, and let's add a lens to it. There's my lens. Creates a focal point at the optimum depth. So using an acoustic lens will lower the value. Oh, that's right. I want to say this again. Of an ultrasound system's lateral resolution. This is golf, right, guys? It's just like golf. We want to lower the value. In other words, at the area right here that I drew before, we want to go from 4 millimeters down to 2 millimeters, let's say. How do we lower that value from 4 to 2, which is better? So lowering the value is better. We put a lens in. It's the only one that works. Okay, guys, we'll see how well the Wi-Fi here uploads these 2 videos. Could be brutal, but I know I've got all night to let this run. So, all right, we have a great Thanksgiving.